Good morning. This is a chicken health video. The reason I'm doing this is kind of a redo of a video I had from several years ago. And I was going to refer someone to that video, but when I went to check the video to see what I had on it, oh my word, it was during the time, it was right after the emergence of these 17-year cicadas, and the background drone was just overwhelming. And I thought, well, I may not address every single thing I had in that video, but I think I'm just going to redo that because the gist of it's going to be the same no matter what, because I know what I know and it's all the same stuff. So anyway, basically, people don't understand chicken disease. They just don't. I've said this so many times, and being as how, had chickens for over 18 years, and people, now that in itself doesn't mean I know about disease, but you have to make an effort to study it, to learn it, to consult with people who know what they're talking about. And I've just been very fortunate that I've had access to many veterinarians and, like I said, to a couple of PhDs in poultry science who guided me during some times in the early years when I had a hard time. It wasn't not with contagious respiratory illness necessarily, but with other problems I was having with my original hatchery stock. And I see a lot of natural remedies being pushed about for various things. And I am all about natural animal management of all kinds if it works and if it cures. If it can cure. See, the question here is your little treatment, is it a treatment? Is it a supplement? Is it a tonic? Is it an immune booster? Is it an aid? Or is it an actual cure? That's the question. People are using things as supplements and tonics and whatnot, and they're pronouncing them cures because they're alleviating symptoms of the disease they're trying to treat, and sometimes they don't even know which disease that is. They just think respiratory. Well, there are bacterial, there's viral, and most of them leave these birds carriers, typhoid Marys. But they don't know which ones these are, and they don't know what ones they're treating. They just see the symptoms. They see the goopy eyes, snotty noses, coughing chickens, hacking chickens, the crackly breathing. They don't know what they're treating, so they're just shotgunning. And they go and get something like a Vet RX. Every feed store sells Vet RX. It's a little oil thing. It's basically Vicks Vapor Rub for chickens. And they think that's going to cure something. It doesn't. And in addition to it, it's kind of aromatic, and aromatics can be dangerous for chickens. Case in point, tea tree oil. You put tea tree oil on legs to kill mites. Well, guess what? Chickens groom their legs, and tea tree oil, when ingested, can be fatal. So there are little traps people fall into with natural chicken management. So I've made dedicated videos to worming. People want to worm with pumpkin seed. They want to worm with diatomaceous earth. They say that feeding them garlic will worm them. They say to feed them this and feed them that. Apple cider vinegar will worm them. None of those are wormers. They may aid as mild deterrents. But if you have a chicken with a worm loads can kill. Sometimes it's better to just not cut corners, go for the big guns, get the actual problem solved faster. Don't mess around with this and that and 5 different things that really are not going to help. They may help a little tiny bit, but they're not going to fix the problem. Diatomaceous earth. I don't want to go into any of these in depth. Diatomaceous earth. Oh, it'll worm your birds. No, it won't. First of all, diatomaceous earth is a desiccant. It loses its cutting power when it's wet. The inside of a chicken is wet, as it should be. It needs to be lubricated. Hence the problem with diatomaceous earth. If you put it in their feed at the ratio of 2% or more of the feed, a lot of people, their attitude is more is better. No, more is dangerous. A desiccant in the intestines of a chicken will desiccate their intestinal tract. I heard of I've actually saw the veterinarian report. These people fed their chickens, they say at a rate of 2%, but they probably put more. Chickens died, had necropsies done. Chickens had worms, but their intestines were dried out and desiccated from the diatomaceous earth. So it didn't do them any good, and it did them a lot of harm at whatever rate they were using. Pumpkin seed. The curcurbit in pumpkin seed paralyzes some roundworms where they can be expelled. The thing is, they don't usually follow through with, you've got to do a molasses flush to give them diarrhea, basically to flush out whatever the pumpkin seed killed. But the pumpkin seed's not going to get all of the roundworms, and it doesn't get capillaria, which are little hair-like worms. It doesn't get gapeworm, which is in the throat. It doesn't get tapeworms. It doesn't get any of those. So it's kind of a mild deterrent. It's healthy for them to eat unsalted pumpkin seeds, or open a squash and or a pumpkin and let them eat the seeds. That's healthy for them. But it's not going to really necessarily worm these birds if they have a heavy worm load. There are things that are good for chickens. There are great supplements for chickens. Cod liver oil. Turmeric was suggested to me by one of these PhDs as an anti-cancerous type of thing. Turmeric, and good for joints. Ginger and turmeric, good for joints. My chickens have some certain lines of them have a lot of arthritic issues, especially when they get really old. And some don't develop them at all. Some are very arthritic young age. My Delaware line has a hereditary tendency to that. So Atlas, being the grandson of a Delaware rooster on one side of the family, he had severe arthritic joints. His two daughters, Zara and Athena, they're 8 years old. They now have arthritic joints. So it's kind of like a passed down thing. And I do, from time to time, feed them turmeric and ginger and stuff, and anything I give them. But when you've got 25 to 50 chickens, it's a little difficult to baby them with all these special things all the time. It's great to grow things and give them herbal mixes like that in their feed. Sure, nothing wrong with that. But they're just an aid. They're immune boosters. They're supplements. They're not cures. Vitamin E for the digestive tract. Good source of vitamin E to keep their reproductive tract lubricated as it should be. Boss, black oil sunflower seeds, a great source of vitamin E. The thing is, a lot of chickens won't eat those. I've watched certain groups of chickens. I'll give them my 14 grain scratch. It used to be 13, now it's 14. It has black oil sunflower seeds in it. A lot of chickens will leave the black oil sunflower seeds. I can tell because when I put a pile of it there, that's what's left. So they're not getting the benefit of that vitamin E. Flaxseed. One of the PhDs that I knew, he told me, he said there was a study one time, and I wish I could reference that. I don't know where it is. He said that it seemed to suggest that flaxseed given regularly possibly would help with reproductive issues. Now, flaxseed is also high in vitamin E, so it may just be a lubricating thing. I don't know. Can't hurt to give it. How much? How often? When do you start? I don't really know. I've given my birds flaxseed from time to time. Sometimes on a regular basis. Sometimes I just, ran out and didn't get any more. But that's just a supplement. It's just a supplement. It's not a cure for anything. If you've got a hen who's internally laying and she's got cheesy masses of cooked yolk and infection in her abdomen, none of those things are going to fix any of that. Apple cider vinegar. A lot of people use that to clean wounds. I was watching a veterinarian say, do not use that to clean wounds. He said that does not have enough cleaning power to clean wounds on a chicken. You need to go for something a little bit more antibacterial than apple cider vinegar. So there's that. And a lot of people, they say, well, my chickens are sneezing or they have snotty noses or whatever. I'm going to pull out the apple cider vinegar. I'm going to pull out the VetRx. Well, that's not going to cure the virus or the bacteria that's causing that. It doesn't cure anything. It does not cure it. Once they have it, they have it. It does not cure it. Once they have mycoplasmosis galliceptum, mycoplasma synovii, that affects the joints, coryza, infectious coryza, infectious laryngotracheitis, I don't know how they pronounce it. It's a long word, I don't know how to spell it, but I don't know if it's a go or a joe, laryngotracheitis. I don't know how which is a very nasty, reportable disease to the state, and they will euthanize your entire flock if they contract that. All of those things. Newcastle disease, another reportable disease. Once they have that, those things, even Marek's disease, which is not respiratory per se, but Marek's disease is a carrier disease. Once they have it, they have it. There is no cure for that. There's no cure for any of those. Things that you try, natural remedies, may alleviate some symptoms. It might make them feel better temporarily. In fact, you may see the symptoms disappear, and you may be thinking, I cured them. But you would be wrong. You would be wrong. Remember, I know what I'm talking about. It's not bragging. I'm just saying it would be to your benefit not to fool yourself into thinking you've cured something. First of all, not knowing what it was in the first place, that you've cured something that your bird is still carrying and can infect the rest of your flock or any new birds that you bring in. And usually these carriers, they may not show a lot of symptoms. If they're happy and they're otherwise healthy and they seem okay, until there's a stress put on the flock, like a predator attack, or you bring in new birds and there's some competition, then your symptoms are going to pop right up again because they're carriers, and your new birds will get it too. These viruses cannot be cured by any of these natural remedies. In fact, I'm going to read you something from poultryextension.org. And it's going to verify exactly what I've been telling you. Poultryextension.org. Natural animal management does not directly cure mycoplasmosis, but can be used to alleviate symptoms. They're still carriers. The only cure for these things is to prevent them from happening in the first place. That's where all your natural stuff comes in. All your herbs, all your supplemental herbs, and your tonics, your immune boosting aids, all of that stuff, that's where all that comes in. Now, I've used garlic. You saw the story of my rooster Hawkeye, what condition he came to me in. You know, the first thing I did is when his water, I crushed garlic cloves and I floated garlic in his water. I wanted to boost his immune system. He had a fungal infection of the comb and wattles. He had lice, which of course I did solve with diatomaceous earth externally. He was a mess. And I had to get his health, his basic immune system back to functioning properly again, as much as I could. And so, yes, I used garlic for that. Yes, I used ACV for him. I mean, ACV has vitamins and minerals. Yes, it does. But if he had something, a carrier disease like mycoplasmosis, he might have not shown up, because when he got to my place, he was under much less stress than he was at his other place. But if he had mycoplasmosis, or if he had coryza, it might not have shown up right away. So I didn't expect any of this to cure him. In fact, he was in quarantine so that if he showed symptoms of these things, I could euthanize him and not endanger my flock that I bought him intentionally for. That's what quarantine's for. Not so you can treat disease, but so you can find disease and eliminate the threat to your flock before it gets in there. That's what quarantine is for. Yes, that's a harsh reality of chicken keeping. And I'm really sorry. You don't think this is hard for me? When I have to euthanize a bird, it's very hard. It's horribly difficult. I have one now I really need to euthanize. But she's so strong, she's not ready to go. So it's not easy for me. So please don't think this is an easy thing for me to say. I've been ready to euthanize birds before. And then I consulted someone. I consulted one of the former state vets one time because a bird was showing symptoms I'd never seen before. They already had a fungal infection, and the fungal infection is not contagious bird to bird. It's something like everything's dried out and these spores from something are released. They breathe them in, and in the moist environment of their trachea, these spores bloom and they start to breathe like a coffee pot. Not crackly, but like a coffee pot, like an old-fashioned percolator. And it was several in one group. And they had breathed in some spores and they got a fungal infection. And I cured that by having them breathe in cool air mist, vaporizer, laced with a teeny bit of oxine, no citric acid activator. That is for cleaning with no animals around. But it's harmless. It's 600 times stronger than bleach. And they breathe that in periods. And it cleaned out the fungus. It's antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral. And they cleaned them out. But then I had a hen who got, a couple of weeks later, had the fungal infection. She had bubbles in her eyes, and she didn't look right. She had very strange nares anyway. And I said, she's 5 years old. I thought, oh my God, I got to put her down. And I called the state vet. Not the one we have now, because I don't trust those people. That lab is not trustworthy. And he talked to me, and he was so kind, and he said, wow, I never even see a chicken 5 years old. Now that'll tell you what happens around here. But he said, no, what happened is, I know this is what happened. She got a secondary bacterial infection after the fungal infection. He said she's not contagious. I know exactly what this is. Treat her with Tylenol injections. Tylenol is an antibiotic injections. He said she'll be fine. And he saved me from having to euthanize this 5-year-old hen that was, otherwise is very precious to us. And I was forever grateful to him. I wouldn't trust this state lab as far as I can throw them. I wouldn't have anything to do with this one. I've had a bad experience with these people. But the point is, I was ready to euthanize a hen I'd had for 5 years because I thought she might be a threat to my flock. And I investigated to make sure she wasn't. Most people don't investigate. They think, she's got a cold. If you don't hear anything else, hear this. Chickens do not get colds. See, I can get a cold. I haven't been sick in I don't know how long. But you mean humans can get colds. When they recover from their cold, they're not carriers that can make other people sick when they're recovered from their cold. It's different with chickens. Chickens get the viruses and bacterial ailments that make them carriers for life, or sometimes for an undetermined long period. And if you keep that bird and you expose it to other birds, you're endangering an entire flock for the sake of one bird that you don't want to put down. And so anyway, I just wanted to remake that video. I'm not sure if I've addressed everything that was on that video. I made it private because the quality was terrible. The cicadas. You ever try to make a video outdoor when cicadas are all droning on? It was crazy. But just know, you have to ask yourself, is this a supplement or is it a cure? And do I know what I'm treating? And if it's what I think it is, can it be cured? Because if you make a bird symptom free who has mycoplasmosis, even if it's symptom free, that bird is not cured. It is still a sick bird. May not look it. That's why I say don't buy birds from these flea markets and auctions. You don't know what you're buying. You can't look at that bird and tell for sure if it's sick or not. You can't tell if it's a carrier of one of these diseases or not. You can't tell. So be cautious, but use a little common sense. And look up at poultryextension.org. Look up the Merck veterinary manual will tell you that these things are carriers, that there's no treatment, or they can be, symptoms can be treated, or in the whatever, but that, you know, there's mortality or there's not more morbidity or whatever. Just because a bird doesn't die of something doesn't mean it's not a very dangerous disease. In fact, it'd be better if they did die from it, because if they live, then they're a danger to other birds, usually, with most of these things. So I'm going to quit. It's been 20 minutes, and I think the other one was longer than this one, but at least there's no cicadas to have to fight with. Have a great day, everybody, and just, you know, I know that this natural animal management is where all this fermented feed stuff started. Don't get me started on that one. I won't even address that on this video, but that's where all that came from. And so I do know what I'm talking about in this regard. I just want you to not be fooling yourself into thinking that this is not a problem, I'll just give them some of this and they'll be okay, or if their symptoms go away, that they're cured. Don't necessarily think that, because you don't even know what you're treating. If you don't know what you're treating, you have no idea if you're setting yourself up for a long road of relapses. So I'm gonna go. It's cold enough out here, and I gotta talk to y'all later. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.